She even said, I'm going to go head to toe and tell you everything that can go wrong. And I remember in that moment looking at her and saying, okay. And I heard God say, I can heal that. I can redeem that. I can strengthen that. I can make that well. And in that moment, I just had peace come over me.
It's so cool.
And I knew that this baby would come home with us and he would be my son.
Hey everyone, my name is Kira Miller. Welcome back to the What's Your Life Journey podcast with today's guest, Erin Coleman, who's the mother of a miracle child and also a hairstylist. Can't wait to share her story today. So, who would you say Erin Coleman was in the beginning of this life journey of just like infertility and before you became a mom? Like, kind of talk about who you were in the beginning of that.
I would say I was just really hungry to nurture. I had married Brandon. We had moved across the country. I was ready to start a family. I had been running a business for years doing hair. And the time had come where I was really ready to become a mom and start a family. So it was really hard for me to kind of start that journey and quote unquote, try to have a biological child. So we tried probably for a year and a half after we had moved here. And it was really, really hard to kind of find out. Month after month passed and we were like, okay, maybe it's because you traveled or maybe it's just because they didn't want to swim or whatever it is. And so we actually sought out to see a specialist for infertility. And the irony and the craziness of the news is I really had put so much of the weight on it being me and knowing that I already had an existing condition called polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Okay.
And it can be a leading cause of infertility for women. So I had been kind of already blaming myself like, this is me. And so we went together and we equally said as a partnership, we're going to go get tested. We're going to go and just figure out what the cause is. And in the back of me, I'm really wanting to adopt a baby, mind you.
Okay.
This is a thing that people don't always hear is I was really ready to adopt a baby from day one of getting married.
Which we'll go back to
fill out the papers. Let's do this.
Yeah.
But we had my husband going through grad school and different things that kind of wait till we have a family. Yeah. So he and I said we would just kind of seek out biological children, what that would look like, saw this fertility specialist, and the news came back devastating to find out that my husband too had infertility. So a lot of people don't talk about that because it's so painful on both parties. It's more shocking. Women constantly blame themselves.
I actually didn't really know that was, I guess, possible even for a man, just because I've never heard of it before.
Yeah. So it was just a hard way to learn. And I feel like it was even harder when the clinic called me specifically and said, we just want to let you know your husband's results. So I had to be the one to tell him. It was really painful to kind of learn that. And yet I loved Brandon with all of me. So I thought to myself, okay, what does this even mean? It's both of us. Yeah. It's not just me.
Right.
And so there was this little voice in the back of me like, it's okay, like go for it, adopt. But in that time, we both felt so broken and so grieved and so unworthy. Like our bodies aren't doing what they're supposed to do. So what do you do during that time of grief? You just have to work through it and you have to lean on God and in each other. And it was a really dark little season and we didn't let it last long. So it was, I'm glad we're not there ever anymore. So.
Absolutely. Well, and you were talking just a bit ago about how you actually had a vision when you were 19, did you say?
Yes.
That you,
just when I was 19, I remember when we lived in California, driving down the Pacific Coast Highway, and it was such a vivid, solid memory in my mind to see the sunset at my front and the mountains in the back of my rearview mirror, and my mom's in the passenger seat, and I said, Mom, is it crazy that someday I feel like I'm going to go pick up my baby when I become a mom? And she's sort of looked at me and I said, I feel like I'm going to, and she's like, honey, I think you're going to adopt. And there was this just blessed assurance, I guess you could call it, of just knowing then that would be the way that I would become a mother someday. And it wouldn't happen the way that a lot of people traditionally build a family. So,
Have you thought, like, did you think about that a lot before you
oh
had
yeah,
really
I've always
kind of like banked on it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm like little brown baby with the
Yeah. Oh, that's
awesome.
awesome.
Whatever God
Yeah.
has in store for us, we're totally game. But
Mm,
I started really having dreams of what that could look like, and my heart was just kind of expanding. I could go anywhere for this little person if they were meant to be with us. So
yeah.
it was exciting.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that kind of the infertility phase is done and
Mhm.
you go into like choosing to adopt, well, I guess when did you kind of decide that? Because you said you wanted to wait
Yeah.
till Brandon was done with school.
Yeah, so we had to kind of, by the time we had moved here, and sorry if this is confusing, but by the time we had moved here, he had finished grad school, took a great job here in the city,
Okay.
and that's when we began trying.
Okay.
And so we ended up trying for a year and a half.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
somewhere along that time, we really just started saying, God, what do you have for us? And I remember thinking to myself, it's way bigger than this. It's
Mm,
so much beyond who we are and what we can do with ourselves,
yeah.
in our own bodies and how we can make a family. And
Yeah.
so I felt like the Lord was really stirring in both of our hearts, but we needed to be aligned in every aspect of that. And we needed to be a team in that decision.
Yep.
So about a year and a half later, we had reached that decision. I remember Brandon waking up and saying, I'm ready to adopt.
Really?
And just being so pumped.
Huh.
And as his wife, I was like,
Me too.
just so out of my skin
Yeah.
excited.
Huh.
So we started that process and started pursuing whatever that would look like.
Yeah.
I think we had to kind of work through, do you go domestic? Are you going international? What does that look like?
Mhm.
And so Brandon was very certain, I feel like we need to do this domestically.
Okay.
And part of that crazy wait for me was like, oh, that's not what I pictured. Like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that's what we need
So
to
it
do.
kind of messed with your
It
own
messed with
vision.
my plan.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing? And so I really had to sit back and get right with God and be like, Lord, if this is what you want, like, you're going to have to show me in a dream or something because
Yeah.
I don't really know. And sure enough, I do remember God specifically telling me that the baby was going to be domestically in the U.S. And
crazy.
I just had to kind of commit my heart to that. But I had peace about it. It was a sure thing. So we just kind of tried to search for an agency and who would we work with and how much is this going to cost? We
Yep.
have no money. We started garage selling everything we
wow.
had. And you know that I'm like not in my favorite place when I'm garage selling because I was like, I do not like garage sales.
Not trying to get
But we were
rid of your stuff either.
We were just really trying to properly fund as much as we could to be able to bring our child home.
Yeah.
And so the wait wasn't that long at all. And it's not traditional at all how I would say our experience was.
Yeah.
But we literally got a phone call one day on a Sunday night. We were casually grilling hamburgers. And it was from a friend of a friend of a friend.
Okay.
Totally confusing, I know.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But she had been incessantly texting me, Erin, call me, call me. So I picked up the phone and said, hey, how's it going? And she said, there's this little couple that lives in the area and they're looking to adopt their baby. They're really young. They're 17 and they just want to do other things right now with life. And
Wow.
I just was like, okay, I'm not going to get too excited.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, right?
And so I looked at Brandon and he looked at me and I said, well, go ahead and give him my contact. I'm always an open book and I'm willing to meet with them, whatever that looks like.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of what we did. We just put it out there. And
So it wasn't even through the agency.
No.
Wow.
We actually were going to turn in our paperwork with the agency that Monday.
No way.
And that Sunday night, we got a phone call. Wow. So we just were so excited, like, okay, we're not going to get excited, but we're really excited.
Yeah.
So we just, we said, give them our contact. And then that Monday, the friend of a friend called. She was a grown-up kind of looking out for these people.
Okay.
And she said, I think this could be a really good fit. And so I was kind of excited. I said, go ahead and give birth mom my number. If she wants to talk to me, I'm totally open.
Mhm.
If not, that's okay.
Yeah.
So birth mom called me that Thursday.
Okay.
We had this incredible connection right off the bat.
Mhm.
She just was cool. I don't know how else to say it. For being so young, she's got such a maturity to her. And she has such a confidence that is so beautiful. A lot of young people don't have that, but she she shines.
That's
All I can
incredible.
say. So we could just connect over the phone, girl to
That's
girl.
awesome.
It was really cool. And she said, hey, would you want to meet with us on Saturday? And would you and your husband want to come? So Brandon and I agreed that we would do it. We said we would meet for lunch. We would come to them. And so that's what we did. We committed to that. And we drove there. And if you could even picture the nerves that we had, it was
I'm sure
out of this world. We were just, okay, we're fine. What do you say? What are we going to do? How do we talk about this? It was just super, what do you do in that conversation?
What do you say?
So we met at a restaurant and we were waiting for them to arrive and just saying, Lord, if this is something you want us to do, then go ahead and make it happen. But if you don't, then make it so clear, because this is already really hard and challenging.
Yep.
And so sure enough, we sat down at the table and just felt this peace come over our time. And we let them share their story. We just kind of tried to listen. We just wanted to know their hearts and why adoption just feels right for them. They really felt important that they could look in the eye at the parents that would get to inherit the life of this child and raise them. And so that was really important to them, to get to actually see us face to face. And so we really valued that and thought we'd never be so lucky to have that kind of an opportunity. But we did. And in that moment, they said, well, this feels really good. We'll get back to you. And we heard from them the next day. And then we began a journey with them. And so instead of
I love that you said a journey with them.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
And we did exactly that. We journeyed with them through the whole process of just waiting for our now Bo to be born, waiting for the baby to be born. And there's such a vulnerability on our end and their end of them saying, I hope you don't bail. And for us saying, okay, well, I hope you don't change your mind.
Yes.
So there was no middleman, no agency, no one saying,
gotcha. Okay,
this is how this is going to go. No one counseling us through it. It was like God
that.
had to be our counselor, you know? So, and that is the best place to be. I feel like we were very fortunate. So we ended up getting to start walking this journey. She was 16 weeks at the time. We got to go to the 20-week ultrasound and find out that this baby's a boy. We were looking at each other like, oh my gosh. I'm thinking, I am anything but a boy, Mom. What am I doing? I'm like a girl's girl. Like all things beauty. What am I doing? And my husband's like, a boy? A boy? His face is just so in shock. And yet we were like, but this is so cool and so right. So we just left that day with like hope and complete nerves of what do we do with a boy? This is awesome. And just all the excitement with it. And so we began that journey, in about 2 or 3 weeks in, after the ultrasound, we got a message from Birth Dad, and he had said, I would like to raise the baby with my family's help. And the devastation that came over that, I just share that part because there's so many beautiful adoption stories, but they did not come without some brokenness, some pain, some level of, oh my gosh, that was really, really difficult, or that I lost everything in order to have it all later. And I remember Brandon calling me and saying, I need you to be at home. We need to talk. It's really sad. I'm thinking, like, what could be so bad? Like, we have to fly out tomorrow to my best friend's wedding in California. I'm about to go get my nails done, my spray tan. I'm like the maid of honor. So I'm like, I got to show up for someone. And he had shared this news with me, and I just didn't want to accept it, to be honest. I felt like it wasn't really what the outcome would be. And I didn't lose hope even then, even when my heart felt ripped out. So it was just this unusual faith that was persevering. And Brandon had a different level of grief. He had to say, honey, we have to let go. We have to take a step back. You need to respect them. And I was all for respecting them, but I think I was like, if
God's
all we're
me
meant to
something
do
else.
is be there for this beautiful little couple to help them learn that they can be parents, then I've already done my job. But if, I don't feel like that's what God's plan is in this. I feel like he has a different plan. So it was a real struggle, and that's where he and I started kind of having differences and feeling different things. And I respectfully took a step back, told birth mom, can't go with you to the appointments out of respect for Birth Dad. We just need to not be there. That was a really long 2 weeks of waiting and just the pain. And I remember just trying to seek counsel of, do we take a step back? Do we completely say we're done? We're not opening our hearts up again or not? And I think that a lot of people came back to saying you need to stay in their lives and follow through with your word, even if your heart gets broke. And
Ooh.
I feel like that was really hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
But we did. And
That's
we
incredible.
continued to stay in contact and told them, hey, if you do change your mind, we still are ready to receive this child with love and care for them. And so, oh man, about 24 weeks gestation, birth mom called and said that she was getting admitted to the hospital. And I just remember that morning, Brandon and I had just had such a grief, like with all of it, just so sad. And that morning she had called and said, I just got done with my appointment and I need you to come now. And I'm like, oh, okay. It was like a normal day of the week. And I had to talk to my husband about this respectfully to say, well, she wants me to come. Can I go? And he's like, you got to run it by birth dad. So we really needed to make sure we were respectful to them of, are you okay if we're even there? You know? And so he was very kind and just, are you going? Are you going to be there? Great. I'll see you there. And I was like, oh, wow, that was my reaction. I was like, wow. It was just kind of like the waters parted for me to be there, you know? So mind you, we were in escrow selling our house during this whole very crazy time when it rains, it pours. And so Brandon had to do a walkthrough at our house and said, call me and I'll come if I need to come and just let me know. And I got there and our sweet birth mom, she's so beautiful inside and out. She was laying there and she said, so the baby's going to come early, I guess. And I was just overwhelmed at that point because I was like, August, September, October, November, December. Okay, the baby's not due for a really long time. And how are they going to survive? And I just was sitting there thinking, if I'm meant to just like see her through losing a baby, then I've done my job well. So I just was trying so hard to protect my heart from what could have been. And at this point, birth dad was still wanting to parent. And so I showed up with the heart of, I'm here for you. You don't have to walk through this alone, but I'm very ready to receive if that's what's supposed to happen. And I internally could separate the two, but I know my husband was looking out for me and he was very much like, I only want you to go knowing that this might not end well. So he was very guarding my heart, if you will. So, so I remember the nurse that day looking at me and just saying, I just need to let you know the risks of this premature birth. The baby has a 30% chance survival. If this baby does survive, they can suffer from blindness, deafness, skin issues. Their skin's undeveloped. It's a very serious process. So you just need to know cerebral palsy is a really big thing. Autism's a really big thing. She just was going down this list head to toe. And she even said, I'm going to go head to toe and tell you everything that can go wrong. And I remember in that moment looking at her and saying, okay. And I heard God say, I can heal that. I can redeem that. I can strengthen that. I can make that well. And in that moment, I just had peace come over me.
That's so cool.
And I knew that this baby would come home with us and he would be my son. And I just didn't even know how to describe the peace that was coming over me. So mind you, rewind, I told Brandon, I'll call you if you need to come. Oh, I was like, I'm going to go call Brandon. So there was a moment where my birth mom looked at me and she said, you can do this. You were made to be this baby's mother. And we just have this beautiful connection, you know, and I just remember tears were coming up quick. And I said, okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to call Brandon. And so I walked out of the room and I fell apart. You know, you can't fall apart on birth mom.
No, definitely not.
I'm like, she's already doing a hard job. So I walked out and I just cried out to God. Like, I don't know how to do this. I'm not equipped to do this. I did not sign up for this. Like I did, but I didn't. And in some ways, like women that are, you know, carrying a baby and find out that they have something, I think what I'm trying to say is just like as a birth mom carries their child.
Oh, yes.
And they experience that.
Then that would be high risk.
Yes. So I also was experiencing that emotionally, receiving a child. And so I really felt like I experienced parts of this pregnancy emotionally in ways that my birth mom was experiencing physically. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and so I just kind of had to hold my hands open to whatever would be. And I started just being grateful for things that scared me. I was grateful that this child could have some kind of high risk disability, whatever. And I was okay with it because I knew that they were going to bring beauty into the world. And I was okay. God had just given me this peace that they had purpose here, and that if they were going to be here, they were going to live fully, and they were going to bring joy to everyone around them. And so Brandon had come up to the hospital, and we just had to get real. Like, this is going to happen, and this baby's going to be ours. It's just likely to happen. And it's such a heart-wrenching feeling when you really want to see young people be able to fulfill whatever their purpose and desire is, and whether it's going to college and getting this awesome career and getting to carry on a path with your life that you long for, or it's raising a baby, whatever it is, you really want to see that person or those people accomplish and thrive. Yes. And so I think it was just so hard to reach this resolve of like, Birth Dad had very kindly and very, what's the word? He looked at Brandon in the eye one day and said, I think you need to be this baby's father. And just to give him that peace. Yeah. And that this is really part of Bo's story, you know, and I want Bo to be honored to know that his birth parents went out of their way to choose us to raise him.
Because they knew at the time that you were like better equipped.
Whew, that gets me still. Yeah, they just knew that they weren't equipped at the time, and even if they were, maybe it wasn't the right place. It just
it's amazing.
Be chosen like that is the greatest gift you can give your child, to say, I chose to give you life.
And and I want to give you the best life that you can have.
That's
God,
right.
I'm tearing up that too.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did. They were like, we trust that you guys are going to give this child the best life he can have. And I think it was really hard because on their end, I couldn't imagine what they were feeling of like, I hope this works out for this couple. They're sticking around. And we're like, we hope it works out for everything, like for this child, for you guys. And so we kind of, I don't know. We just kind of came to that place of, we had their blessing in full from both of them united. And we needed that. Because I remember saying, we need to know, like, and there was a little pressure from the hospital saying, whoever's going to be making medical decisions needs to start making them now. So we were like, okay,
time to go.
Like the baby's coming. So a lot of people ask the question of why did he come early? Just to share that real little bit. The blood flow from the placenta was decreasing, and at a 24-week appointment, he just was lacking nourishment and lacking growth. He was just not keeping up with his growth. So
that was the best decision.
Yeah, it's a very touch and go. They don't want to deliver a baby that early. Never.
I'm sure.
It's not the best case scenario to do that. Right. But at any cost, if that blood flow stops, they have to take the baby out immediately. Wow. So the morning Bo was born, the blood flow had completely stopped. And they took our birth mom back for surgery. And she delivered Bo. And I was the first one to get to wait outside the OR and meet him. It was just such a gift. He was in a lockdown unit in the NICU. And so he was very, very distressed. And what's the word? He just was fragile.
I'm sure.
He was really, really fragile when he was born. And you could tell that his eyes were still fused shut and his skin hadn't finished developing. I remember meeting him and looking at him and thinking, oh my goodness, you're so beautiful. Yeah. And you kind of look a little like a gummy bear, but you're beautiful. Like he just was 1 pound. 4 ounces. Wow. And I just remember thinking, you have to take control of the situation because I am not equipped, even now, to do this and take this another day. And this baby needs you to take him to another day. He needs you to continue to breathe into his lungs. So he was on a ventilator for a while, and he received oxygen that way. And then he eventually got into a normal little cannula. And he did great. He just had such an abnormal NICU journey. A lot of times you leave your phone on and they have to call and tell you, oh, the baby stopped breathing. We had to re-intubate, or we had to draw this line, or they have to call for big changes in their health. And I never had a phone call that just scared me like that. And I think that was the grace of God. A lot of people experience that in the NICU.
Yeah.
And I was still driving to work every day and driving up to the city every day to see the baby and to say goodbye every day. It was just
You never got a scary phone call?
I never did.
Wow.
I always was waiting for one, but obviously my faith must have been small because I think that they warn you. They don't like to butter you up and make you feel like everything's going to work out.
Okay.
They let you know that this might not work out, but we're going to do everything we can.
Yeah.
So Brandon and I were just vulnerable through the whole process. But that team and those nurses and doctors came around us. Our family flew out to be with us. We had friends just come around us and love us during that time. And that was huge to have that kind of support, and our lives just had a couple of days before our anniversary had just changed forever. And I was getting to become a mom in a really unique way that I had never even heard of or pictured. So I have so much respect for our birth parents and for the courage that they had to make this decision and to live out the call that they had for their life and to try to choose what's best for Bo.
Yes.
Bo is just an incredible little human, and I always look at him and think, you came from greatness, and we want to raise you in all the greatness that we can, but he did come from really good people, and so we're really blessed for that.
And he was in the NICU, is that how you say it?
Yes.
For like 100 some days?
Yeah, 109 days.
Wow. And the birth parents have stayed kind of part of the journey through this? Yeah. Yeah,
a little bit. Birth mom and I still keep in touch from time to time, and she's doing great things with her life, and we're really proud of where she's going.
That's amazing.
So,
So now he's about a year old.
Yeah.
And
on Monday.
I know, that's crazy. And as part of this journey, so like what do you feel like kind of when you brought him home and everything, what do you feel like you were learning in that experience of like seeing him in these really hard times and seeing him in this brokenness and then like seeing the beauty through that?
Yeah.
Like, what do you feel like you were learning, and how did you, I don't know, how did you, I guess, kind of like take it home with you? Not take him home with you, but like take that knowledge home with you that like he's experienced already this great struggle. Yeah. But it's like there's been so much beauty out of that.
Yeah, I think every day in the NICU we were learning that we had to trust that Bo had purpose, and we all have purpose, right? But every day in the NICU we were learning to show up for our family and to show up for this little boy and just believe that the Lord had plans for him. And so every day got better and better and better and better. And the day that he came home was glorious. It was just incredible. But we didn't know what would happen from there. Doctors say he may never crawl, he may never walk, he may never speak. Yeah. And we've been able to see that none of those things are true for him. Right. So I don't know if I'm answering that question.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I asked the right question.
It's okay.
So it like, would you say it kind of, the knowledge that you gained from that situation and like the wisdom and I guess like God speaking through you like really impacted the rest of your life too, and how you were able to just see that, here's the thing, like that you could just see that God like can break all of those chains essentially and stuff. And like, how did you start living that out throughout your entire life?
Yeah. I think that when I look back at the last year of our journey with Bo, and even through the infertility that led us to Bo, I can look back and see that people always say to you, God doesn't give you more than you can handle, but that is just not true. You can go front to back in the Bible, and I'm telling you today,
that's really
that is not true at all. Because
so true.
The truth is the hardest thing can come at you, and even if you can't handle it, he can. And so don't let anyone tell you that. And he gave us more than we could handle. And I wouldn't, because
he just came in and
he just allowed us to live through these hard circumstances and said, I can do this. I will do this. I am good. I am faithful. I am a provider. I am a healer. And so we were able to really get to watch him work and breathe life into this little body and to just start. I mean, he's always been such an attentive little baby from day one. He will make eye contact with you. And he just has got that intention about him. And so now he's crawling and he's trying to talk and
Yeah.
he's doing mighty things for his age. And so we try to close the gap of his adjusted age and his actual age, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal. But now we go to therapy a couple days a week, a couple different therapies, and he's thriving.
That's
so
incredible.
I guess
Watching him on your
I don't know if I
Instagram.
answered that
Yes,
question.
you did. Yeah. No, watching him on your Instagram is like so spectacular. Like without even knowing you face to face and just kind of hearing that story and watching him like just be, I mean, truly like a normal baby, even with all of the things that happened. Like he's extraordinary. It's amazing.
Yeah. He's just, all babies are miracles.
Yes,
But some of these little
yes.
fighters, man, they're here to get some work done.
Yeah.
And I remember him being in the NICU and just so tiny and thinking, you can fight in here all you want. When you get home, you're going to obey.
Yeah.
And so it's just joy. And
He's already a warrior.
I mean, I'm just so honored that God chose me to become a mom this way, because now today I look at my circumstance and think it could look different even now. We don't have some of the challenges that we could have had due to the grace of God and the miracle that Bo is. And so because of that, he is, how do I say this? I guess I struggle every day now with this, that I sometimes see the brokenness around me in therapy, and I see kids in braces and wheelchairs and just different things. And it doesn't really even have anything to do with us, but it really breaks me on a daily basis.
Does it sometimes like worry you about Bo then? Is that what you're saying? Or no? Or you just break for them?
No, I just feel like that could have been my story.
Gotcha. Okay.
But that's not my story, so that doesn't really... Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, it's the empathy. Yeah.
It is. It's an empathy to see these moms that are, I think, and something I've asked myself is motherhood caregiving to such extremes? Yes, it is. Motherhood is dying for your little ones and giving your life for them. And so it just is a lot more than I ever imagined it would be. But I don't take that for granted. So I don't take a day of Bo for granted, even when he's teething and hangry or just overly tired or needs diaper. I just look at him and think, you're here and we can get through this moment. So it's glory to glory.
Yes, that's incredible. So sometimes when you're in therapy, then do you like kind of find yourself asking like, why me? Why did I get this miracle instead of these other people?
Yeah, sometimes I do. And then I remember that everyone has purpose in different forms.
Yeah.
And I remember that we were just fortunate that this is our form and our version and our story and our journey.
Yes.
And God can use people no matter what state they're in, no matter what level of brokenness they're feeling.
Yeah.
And I tell you, you can be waving in the wind, bending like crazy, broken as can be, but God can make your tree straight. He can make you strong, make you able. And so I don't really necessarily have a worry for other people like I would naturally. That empathy, you know.
Yeah.
I just want to encourage those families.
That's incredible. So one thing you talked about a lot that kind of sounded like it was holding you up the whole time was just that people were around you, supporting you, loving on you. I guess, like, would you say, who were the specific people in your life that were really, like, holding you up during that time? Family, for sure.
We had family fly out. We had friends come around us. We had friends from church come around us. And I don't know what we would have done had we not had that kind of support. You know, we were moving houses in the middle of everything. And
that's insane.
I just remember thinking, I just can't do this right now. I need to be somewhere else. I need to be at the hospital. And I'm here. And we had family and friends say, go, we'll take care of this. So we had that kind of deep, unforgettable support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything that kind of held you up to during this time that like wasn't related to family, that maybe it was like an inspirational quote, a Bible verse, anything that like kind of defined your situation and really helped you to just remember like, oh, God is in this and he is working through this and he is stronger than me?
I feel like he was just speaking over us through the whole process, even when we were grieved that we might not get to parent. And that waiting, he still was saying, it's okay, just take one step forward and I'll do it. And so my husband and I live by Isaiah 26. It says, people with their mindset on you, you keep completely whole, steady on their feet. It says, because in the Lord God, you have a sure thing. And so it's just a confidence that we have, I guess, that we have a sure thing in the Lord. He is who he says he is. He is a healer. He is a creator of all things. He can give you everything you've ever dreamed of. And so I feel like for the families that too are waiting to have a baby or adopt a baby, and they've just been in a state of waiting, or families that have chosen not to have children.
Yeah.
The Lord sees you, and he sees exactly where you are, and he has not forgotten you. And I think that that's something that I just long for people to know, is that you're not forgotten and you're waiting.
So what advice would you give maybe to a family that's just like really struggling to build a family?
I would say first that you really want to work as a team to grieve well. And sometimes you never really get over that grief. I know some people are still working through it as parents today, but come together and grieve well and mourn and do whatever you need to do to really feel the emotions of the pain of infertility and face it head on. And then the second thing I would say is come together as a team. Before, you can't mask infertility and the desire to build a family with adoption. It's not meant to be that way.
It's not meant to replace it.
It's not. I think that it's you have to be unified, and so come together with your spouse and just make sure that you're on the same page and you're ready for the journey of adoption, and make sure that that's exactly what you both are wanting, and just make sure you're a team when you go into that.
Yeah.
So.
And I love that you mentioned like make sure you grieve. And don't just like skip that process.
Totally. Yeah, it's important. So.
Well, and along with that, the thing that you touched on that kind of reminded me of that was when you said you were like going to the agency and you were working towards towards adopting a child, but it didn't look like the way that you had it planned, because you ended up getting a call from a friend of a friend of a friend that was like, oh, hey, I need your help. And then, so I think the really cool part about that was like, you were working towards it and God saw that. And he was like, I see you doing that. And I appreciate that. And I'm going to give that to you just in a different way than you would imagine, like a more extraordinary, amazing way than you imagined.
Absolutely. I think our steps of obedience are not in vain.
Yes. I love that. And I think that's what people need to know is it's like, keep going and just keep staying in the race and don't get out of line, because
that's right. Keep your eyes forward.
Yep.
And just keep marching on and don't lose heart.
Yeah.
You know,
because God sees
your story that's part of the story, is the journey there, right?
Yeah.
And so we're just
the part that matters.
We're on. I mean, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't go back and try to do it different. I just knew all along that God had a little baby out there that was going to be our son or daughter, and oh my goodness, they're way cooler than I pictured.
Yeah, right.
You know, Bo is just he's amazing, and I can't wait for him to get to share his story with other kids and other people growing up, because his story is really remarkable, and it's such a testimony of God's goodness and his kindness and his provision and his great plans that he puts forward. So I hope he knows always that he was first chosen and that he's loved and that he's here to do some real cool stuff, and he's got purpose. So.
So after kind of all of this, who would you say Erin Coleman is now?
I'm Erin Coleman. I'm wife to Brandon Coleman and mama to Bo and Lucy, our little fur baby. And I just feel like I'm able to say that I'm first a nurturer, a child of God, but I'm a nurturer now to my family. And I think that I'm still the same sunshine loving girl that I've always been, but now I'm getting to really fulfill some of the desires of my heart in this life. So
I feel like you probably know and understand true joy now too, right?
Yeah, my husband would tell you that there's a certain level of contentment that has come over me through this process. And he would tell you that I'm definitely getting to fulfill a purpose in an area that I had been longing and waiting for. So there's a lot of peace there.
Yeah, that's amazing. Cool. So where can people find you on social media?
We are with Love the Colemans on Instagram. And that's
super cute.
Thanks, girl.
Love it. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining the podcast today. Yeah, just sharing your story of like going from infertility and not really, you know, maybe even like you didn't lose hope in that because you were just like, well, we're going to find another way. And I think it's amazing that you did find that other way, and just like sharing the process of that and like the brokenness in that, but now also sharing like the hope of Bo, and like even as he, you know, grows up and stuff, and it would be really cool to have you back on, you know, down the line to like hear how it is, and just like how much joy he's brought to your life in the next 10 years.
He'll be a teenager then. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right? Well, not in 10 years.
He'll be awesome.
But
yes.
Close. But yeah, just like, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you
and
for having me.
Talking about the brokenness, but also talking about the hope and the joy that you found in the Lord.
There's so much there. Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. If you want to hear more inspiring stories like Erin's, you can hit the subscribe button. Or if you want more inspirational, exclusive content, you can join our Patreon community, which I would love for you to do, at the link in the description, or you can go to patreon.com/whatsyourlifejourney. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. Bye.
Bye.